On to Arrowhead Allies, brought to you by Starcade Media. We are in here on a very rare lately Victory Monday here for the Kansas City Chiefs, and we've got to get into all the pertinent topics here. We're going to do it with our good friend Trey Wingo, who joins us now. Trey, welcome. It's been a busy weekend. Everyone's kind of coming down from that. We still got Monday Night Football tonight, but how's everything with you? All good? Good weekend? Everything good with you?
Everything's great, guys. Good to be with you, and good to be chatting with you. And thanks for having me on. And don't forget to look up that Straight Facts Homie podcast. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast, especially on YouTube. There's the logo. We appreciate that. And we're ready to roll. Let's talk about it.
Graphics department is already hitting on hot cylinders here. And Trey, for you, just kind of talking about Straight Facts Homie, I love your show. I have found, and it's kind of a subconscious change, that instead of going to some of the ESPN shows, I'm looking for the guys that I know and that I trust, and I'm trying to find their shows. I'm looking for you. I'm looking for, Mark Schlereth, people that, have their own shows that have formats that are easily digestible that I can find easily on YouTube or on Twitter. And I think that's kind of a paradigm shift that maybe we're seeing, where people are going to shows like yours just to kind of get on board and see what's going on in the world.
Yeah, look, that's the whole point of this for us is, look, I had a lot of fun for a lot of years at ESPN, but there's been a shift in the way things are presented, right? And, just to give you a quick aside, the week 1 Monday night game between the Vikings and the Bears on ESPN, J.J. McCarthy was terrible in the first half, had a great second half. They won that game. The topic on First Take the next morning was, who would you rather have, Caleb Williams or J.J. McCarthy? Now, that's patently ridiculous after one half of one game, right? So that's the stuff we try to avoid here. And I know that's the stuff Mark Schlereth tries to avoid. That's the stuff that people who are grounded in reality try to avoid, because right now no one would say they want J.J. McCarthy over Caleb Williams, because J.J.'s been very uneven and Caleb is developed under Ben Johnson. We always try to take the long view here, take the long picture. Don't have instant reactions to things in the moment. Incorporate the data, process it, and then come up with, things that actually matter and are of substance. And that's what we're trying to do here.
Mm.
Well said. And so to start off, who would you rather have, Patrick Mahomes or Bo Nix? No, I'm kidding.
Well played on your part. And the answer is always Patrick Mahomes, by the way.
Yes, I think so. Even though I did want to talk about this offense against the Colts, and kind of all season long, they're discombobulated. You see Mahomes is going through progressions too fast. He's just sped up and everything. Some of the receivers aren't getting open versus man coverage, so he's not trusting what he's seeing. The offensive line, there's some issues here and there, and now Trey Smith down. He doesn't seem to appear to be on the same page with Travis Kelce at times. He's missing some throws himself. Just what do you see in this Chiefs offense?
Well, I think I see a little bit of just things going too hectic, right? To use a term that will not relate to a lot of people, but I'll try and change it. You know how you can listen to a podcast and you can listen on regular speed or 2x speed or 3x speed? You can change how fast you want the audio to go. I feel like sometimes they're just going too fast. Everybody just take a deep breath, relax. We're going to be fine. And when they do that, I think that's when you see the best of Kansas City. And I think there's pressure that they haven't felt, honestly, since 2023, when, they lost that game to Buffalo on the Kadarius Toney offsides play. And then, Toney drops another one in the game in New England, and they thought they had that one in the bag, and they had to fight that one out at the end. They had the Raiders game that year on Christmas Day where Mahomes had 2 horrible turnovers inside the 5-yard line in a span of 7 seconds that changed that game dramatically. In that game, Aiden O'Connell didn't complete a pass after the second quarter, and somehow they lost that game, which is, remarkable to me. I think that they're the victims of their own success in a lot of ways. No one has ever done what they're doing. And I know people will say, oh, the Patriots this. The Patriots never went to 5 Super Bowls in 6 years. That never happened. They didn't do it. It wasn't there. In Tom Brady's first season as a full starter, 2002, because he came in for the injured Drew Bledsoe in week 3 or week 4 of 2001, they missed the playoffs. They went 9-7 and missed the playoffs. In Patrick's first year, he threw for 50 touchdown passes, okay? So there's been this unbelievable run, and this year has been sort of a start-stop for a variety of reasons. And I think everyone just needs to take a deep breath because everything is still right in front of them. If they win their next 6 games, they're in the postseason, and they have, quite frankly, a realistic, if somewhat distant chance of even finding a way to win the division, depending on what Denver and the Chargers do. Because if it's a 3-way tie at 12-5, it doesn't go head to head. It goes to division record. And if they run the table, they'll be 4-2 in the division. And that might end up being the best record in the AFC West, which would give them yet another AFC West title. Their thing is they just need to sort of calm down and be who they are. When they do that, they're fine. It's all this other stuff that seems to get in the way for them.
Yeah, what's up, Trey? You know, with this Chiefs team, man, like you said, they're a team with a lot of pressure on them. I always compare them to the Lakers in the early 2000s with Shaq and Kobe, where that was a group that you expected them to do a lot and win a lot. It came with a lot of pressure. So with that, how do you think that group is handling that pressure? Because I know a lot of people, including myself, is like, hey, everything is out in front of them, but they look a little different. Just how do you think they're handling that pressure of, being as great as they are?
No one's ever done this, right? Like there's only one team that's ever been to 4 straight Super Bowls, and the Bills lost all of them. Okay. By the way, that's still going to go down as the most underappreciated achievement in the history of the NFL, in my opinion. Yeah. To go to 4 straight and lose each one worse than the last is almost an impossible mental challenge. So those Buffalo Bills teams of the early 90s were really remarkably strong and resilient mentally. But I feel like, and Michael Strahan said this a couple weeks ago in the pregame show on Fox, you have as much success as the Chiefs have had. It's hard sometimes to get up for a game in October or September or even early November when all you want to do is get to the postseason where legacies are made and that's where you belong. So it's been a journey for them this year. And I think the game against the Colts is really indicative of that. I looked at the team stats, not the box score, but the team stats. Did you guys do a deep dive into the stats on this game?
Yes.
The Chiefs had 23 more first downs. They had 41 more plays offensively. Yeah. They had almost 250 more yards, and they had a time of possession difference almost 17 minutes. There's no way that game should go to overtime. That's blowout city, baby. You go look at the game between the Raiders and the Chiefs earlier this year at Arrowhead when the Chiefs had 30 first downs and the Raiders had 2. And it's very similar. When you look at those raw numbers, there is absolutely no way to explain how that game even went to overtime, let alone the Chiefs had to come from 11 down in the fourth quarter to win it. As much of a season-saving win it was for Kansas City on Sunday, it still exposed a lot of the problems that the Chiefs have. And it's not the big things, it's the little things, right? They had 2 turnovers. The first one gifted the Colts a touchdown on Patrick Mahomes' interception, although that was just a great play by Latu, the defensive end. That was an amazing play. Rice was open for a huge gain there, and he just went up and snared it. It was very similar to what Gregory Rousseau did in 2023 or 2022 near the goal line at Arrowhead when the Bills were playing there. Kareem Hunt fumbles. Kareem Hunt never fumbles. He fumbles inside the 20, and quite frankly, those were the things that really kept the Colts in it, plus the Chiefs' inability to score touchdowns in the red zone. They went down there 3 times in the red zone in the first half, had to kick field goals. They had that ridiculous penalty on Juwan Taylor, who is a walking flag, but that was not a penalty on that face mask. That was not a face mask. That should have been a touchdown, and that would have changed the game dramatically. The Chiefs are still doing little things that create problems for them. On one of those field goal drives, Patrick threw it behind Rice instead of leading him. If he leads him, that's a walk-in touchdown. Rice dropped a couple of balls he never drops. He did that also again in Denver. There have been little mental lapses for the Chiefs that have come up to haunt them big this year, where they never did that last year when they were setting that record for 17 straight games by 1-score won, including the postseason NFL record. This was their first 1-score game win. Now, it was a big one. It was a huge one. But if they don't build on this and go down to Dallas and take care of Dallas on Thanksgiving Day, what happens Sunday doesn't mean anything. It is usually the little things that are the biggest things, and that's been the issue for Kansas City all season. When I was on your show earlier this season, Travis Kelce stopping running on what would a touchdown right in Brazil against the Chargers. The goal line juggle that led to an interception and a return for Philadelphia. That's another game where the Chiefs statistically dominated, but they didn't do the little things that mattered. The Chiefs have got to take care of the little things, which will enable the big things to come easier for them.
Looking at the AFC playoff picture here, it's starting to get a little muddy, even for the Chiefs. Even if you're talking about a winning out, a losing one more game type scenario, you've got tiebreakers lost to all three wild card teams currently. Obviously, like you said, you win out, you can take care of a lot of these. But just seeing what the Houston Texans are doing, that's without C.J. Stroud in the lineup. And, I think that the Chiefs have to start schedule watching in this game against the Cowboys coming up and a quick turnaround. All of a sudden, they just complete the biggest comeback in franchise history. Beat the Philadelphia Eagles. They got Quinnen Williams in there. They got George Pickens playing at an all-world level. The Cowboys game becomes a very important one. So for the Chiefs, it's literally going to be a week-to-week, and we may be a month away from the Chiefs being back in the playoffs mathematically here.
Yeah, look, every game's a playoff game for them right now, right? That's just the way it is. The Dallas game against the Eagles was really interesting for a lot of reasons. The Eagles stormed out to that 21-0 lead, and everyone looks at the stat of the Eagles as being the best red zone offense in football. They convert about 78% of the time when they're inside the red zone, touchdowns instead of field goals, which is well ahead of the Chiefs' pace, which is like 55 or 56% for the season. But that doesn't really tell the story for Philadelphia, right? Philadelphia is averaging just about 2.5 red zone trips per game. Why is that significant? There are only two teams that have less red zone appearances per game than the Eagles this year. The 1-win Titans and the 2-win Jets. So the Eagles' offensive issues are not when they get to the red zone. The Eagles' offensive issues are getting to the red zone, which is a much bigger issue, and that's what they couldn't do after they got out to that 21-point lead. Look, the Cowboys are a different team than they were a couple of weeks ago. You get Quinnen Williams, you get DeMarvion Overshown back from injury, and they are much more of a problem defensively. But come on, the Chiefs are a better team top to bottom. They're a better team top to bottom. They should win this game on Thanksgiving Day. They absolutely should. And if you look at the Chiefs' schedule, right, all their biggest games are at home. The Texans are at home. The Broncos are at home. The Chargers are at home. If they take care of business Thanksgiving Day in Dallas, their last two road games are the Titans and the Raiders.
Yes.
The Raiders are terrible. The Titans are a 1-win team. So really everything for Kansas City comes down to this Thursday game, Thanksgiving Day game against the Cowboys. And I just listen, I refuse to get off this bandwagon until someone buries them. Sunday was another 10-point comeback win for Patrick Mahomes as a starting quarterback for the Chiefs. It was his largest ever fourth quarter comeback, down by 11. The stat that I go back to all the time is that Patrick Mahomes, in his career, as long as they've been keeping this data since 1950, so there's nothing we can do pre-1950. We're talking about, Sammy Baugh or some of these other great quarterbacks, Sid Luckman back in the day. Like, we can't do anything about that, right? The NFL has kept the data since 1950. Since 1950, there's only one quarterback who has a winning record when his team falls behind by 10 or more points. That's Patrick Mahomes. Including the postseason, the Chiefs are 2018 with Patrick under center when they fall down by as many as 10 points at any point in the game. Just put that in perspective. Yeah. The GOAT, Tom Brady, right? The greatest of all time, 7 rings, all the records. So it's totally understandable why you would give him that crown. Do you know what his record is when his team is down by 10 or more points, whether it's the Patriots or the Bucks? 36-61. Okay? 36-61. He's not even close to 500.
Yeah.
So what you're seeing from Mahomes is the outlier of all outliers. He'll find a way to win games in dire situations more than any other quarterback we've seen in the history of the NFL. So all the Chiefs have to do is not put themselves in these dire situations. They've got to figure out a way to not turn the ball over. They've got to figure out a way to finish drives. Rashee Rice has got to not have drops. Xavier Worthy's got to not have drops. Kareem Hunt, by the way, 30 carries, 104 yards. Kareem Hunt on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 this season is more likely to succeed than the tush push. for the Philadelphia Eagles. Statistically, the Chiefs converting on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 with Kareem Hunt is a higher percentage rate than the tush push for the Philadelphia Eagles this year. That's how consistent they've been. It's not the big things that are the Chiefs' problems this year. It's the little things. And those seem like the things that are the easiest to clean up if they can just stay on schedule and stay focused.
Well said, and that's kind of where I was going to go next with Kareem Hunt, this running game. Did you ever think, I know they had 87 plays, but even with that, did you ever
91, they had 91 plays on Sunday.
91, did you ever think that Andy Reid team would run the ball 41 times, 30 with Kareem Hunt?
Well, it's needed. I mean, like the one knock on Andy you have for his entire career is that occasionally he forgets about the running game. You know, and you guys probably remember this going back to the 2017 playoff game at Arrowhead with Alex Smith under center against the Titans. You know, they had a 17-point lead or a 21-point lead, and Travis Kelce got injured in that game, and they stopped handing the ball off to Kareem Hunt. And that really allowed the Titans to come back and win that game. That was the game where Mariota completed a touchdown pass to himself. He threw it. It was tipped up, caught the ball and ran it in for a score. The only knock on Andy Reid's resume is that occasionally he forgets about the running game. The Chiefs need to have balance. And one of the things that the Seahawks do better than almost anybody in football is that going into this week, I haven't checked the stats yet, but going into this week, they ran the ball about 51% of the time, 50.9. That's the highest clip in the NFL this season. And that's even with Jackson Smith and Jigba being the leading receiver in football. And he's going to likely break Megatron's record of 1,964 receiving yards this season. And he'll probably do it in 15 or 16 games as opposed to 17 games. But what Mike McDonald has done in Seattle, which is a great job, is knowing that even if the running game isn't effective, you have to stay with it because it makes you defend it. And if you don't run it, you don't have to defend it. And that means you can just go all out, pin your ears back, and go get the quarterback. And that changes things dramatically. And what I really like about what Mike McDonald has done, they run it 51% of the time, but they're averaging only about 3.8 yards per attempt, which is middle to low pack in the terms of the NFL. I think it was about 25th in the NFL going into this week. I haven't seen the adjusted numbers yet. The point being is you have to make a defense honor the run because then you have to defend it, which allows things to open up in the passing game, which I think is not a surprise as to why even though Lou Anarumo, who has been, the kryptonite for Patrick Mahomes when he was the Bengals defensive coordinator, and obviously now he's the Colts DC, and he did a really good job on Sunday for a lot of that game, confusing Patrick about the things he was giving him to look at. You have to make those guys defend the run. And I think as long as Kareem is going and you've got Brashard Smith now who's getting a little run, and hopefully Pacheco comes back, and I think they just signed Pierce to the practice squad. You have to make a defense honor it, because if you don't make a defense honor it, then you become one-dimensional by your own play calling. And I think that's the thing the Chiefs have to avoid going forward through these final 6 games of the regular season.
Yeah, and I think that's been key. I've been telling people for years, you look at those Super Bowl titles, Damian Williams, stood out and was able to run the ball, and then Pacheco and the ones they ran back to back. But you mentioned Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice. I don't know if Andy is fully committed to realize like those are the guys. Those should be the 2 guys receiving the most targets and receiving the ball. I know Travis Kelce is there, all-time great tight end, but I think it's that time. What did you see in this game, Trey, as far as them trying to give those guys opportunities? Because Xavier Worthy just using him as a gadget guy and only throwing it deep to him, I think defeats his abilities. Like last year, he proved and showed that he can be a guy that can run, routes, short, intermediate, and some deep stuff. But it seems like this year they only were focusing on trying to get him the ball down the field. What did you see from this game to kind of see a change the way that they attack with the passing game?
Well, I think it's pretty clear that they believe that Rashee Rice is their number one go-to guy. And the chemistry that he had since he came back has been there and very, very strong. Xavier Worthy is the second option, and then you have Hollywood Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster and Tyquan Thornton. Again, I would say this receiving core is deeper than any receiving core Patrick Mahomes has had from top to bottom. When Tyreek Hill was there, options 1, 2, and 3 were Demarcus Robinson and Byron Pringle. And respectfully, they're not Xavier Worthy and they're not Rashee Rice. I think that Rashee is a clear number one. And, he's still working his way back from the devastating injury. That's why you see some of the drops that he's had the last couple of weeks. Worthy was huge on that big third down conversion, right? They at some point, and Patrick has been a little hesitant over the last few weeks, whether it's in Buffalo or whether it was in Denver, of just firing it and letting it go. And there were a couple of throws in that game where he just said, F it, and I'm going to throw a laser. And when he did that, things worked out pretty well. Now, a couple of times, he missed a couple of deep shots in that game in Denver. He was sort of a little off target and off schedule when he tried to hit Kelsey, who was wide open in the second half of that game, and sailed it over his head. At some point, you just have to trust that you can do the things you need to do. And people, there was an article out there about why the Chiefs aren't, but this was before the Colts game, why the Chiefs aren't where they were before. And someone said, well, Kelsey's lost a step. I'm like, man, what are you smoking? Because he's 36 years old and he's the second leading receiver in the NFL in terms of tight end yardage, behind only Trey McBride. Everyone's raving about Warren, the rookie tight end for the Colts. He doesn't have as many receiving yards as Travis Kelce this year. Kelce's already doubled his touchdown receiving total from a year ago. He's got 4 as opposed to 2 last year. Plus, he's added a rushing touchdown. Kelce is still very much a weapon, still very much an option for them. But look, the whole point of this thing, once they signed Hollywood Brown and drafted Xavier Worthy a year ago, the whole point was, let's attack down the field like we used to do when we had Tyreek Hill. Obviously, you had Hollywood Brown's injury. Then you had Rashee Rice's injury. And last year was just trying to make it up as we go along. And somehow they found a way to get to their 3rd straight Super Bowl. And I just think that there are weapons there for their disposal. There just needs to be a little bit more of a rhythm on offense. And it is interesting, right? Like, they have basically no offensive coordinator. Andy is the guy. Andy makes all those calls. Andy is the one that does all of this. And you look at the really, really good teams around the NFL, there's a clear delineation between the head coach and the offensive coordinator. And it might be time in the offseason to think about maybe factoring that in a little differently going forward. But there are plenty of weapons for this Chiefs team. It's all right in front of them. All they have to do is beat the Cowboys and take care of games at home, because the Titans and the Raiders after that, come on. I mean, like, everyone's raving about Shedeur Sanders' first start. I'm like, hey, he did great. It was the Raiders. Let's just be honest. It was the Raiders. They quit a long time ago, and they're not going to be less quitting in December when the Chiefs play them in the final week of the regular season.
Exactly. That's week before Cancun. So,
I like to see George Atkinson, though. We love George.
Hi, guys. Good to see you guys. Trey, it's great to see you again. Is there a bad echo or anything? Can you?
No, I hear you. You're fine.
Okay. Sorry. So Trey, you have been doing your podcast this year, Straight Facts Homies. Can you tell us what you've got coming up and how awesome it's been to work on the show this year?
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We just did a big, long thing with Mike Elko, the head coach of Texas A&M, and that just dropped today. We've got a couple of great things coming up in the next couple of weeks. Kevin Kisner from NBC Golf is going to join us. Phil Simms is going to join us. Jordan Spieth is somebody that's going to join us in December talking about golf, and we'll always have a great bunch of great football guests. The whole point about this is as we said off the top, look, we're not going to bore you with the bullshit. We're not going to feed you, fake topics to get people outraged about things that don't matter, right? We want to talk about the things that matter, the things that really are significant. Like, for example, Matthew Stafford, come on now. How he's not the front runner for the MVP, I don't understand. 29 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's in year 17. He's playing better than he's ever been. And, obviously he and Puka have incredible chemistry, and Devontae Adams is there now. And it took 4 or 5 games, but that chemistry is now there. For all the talk about all these other teams in Philadelphia and all this and that, the Rams are probably as more complete team as anybody in football right now. Yeah. They've somehow found a way to replace Aaron Donald with Jared Verse and a couple of other guys. Just to give you an example about what we're talking about with the Rams, they've had exactly 1 first-round draft pick since 2017, and that was Jared Verse, the defensive lineman who's gone on to do really, really well. But just sort of to reiterate the things that I think matter, and that's why we talk about them on the show. Since 2017, the Rams have made exactly 1 first-round pick. Other 83. Jared Verse was the first rounder. During that same 9-year time frame, the Jets and the Ravens have each chosen 12 times in the first round. Over that time period, the Ravens have the 3rd best winning percentage, the Rams have the 5th, and the Jets have the 2nd worst. So it's not just about having picks, it's about making the right picks. And for the fact that the Rams can have the 5th best winning percentage since 2017 with only 1 first-round pick tells you how good they've been at picking up Puka Nakuas and Cooper Kupps and all these other players that they don't get in the first round because they use those picks to get Jared Goff and a bunch of other people and all these other players. It's making sure not that you have picks, but you pick the right people. And, it's a tribute to the organization for Les Snead and Sean McVay. And it's a disaster for the Jets ever since they've been, the Jets. For lack of a better term, that they can't get it right with all those picks. They have the 2nd worst record since 2017, despite having as many first-round picks as anyone.
Are you and Nick Wright going to be okay there, Trey?
I mean, maybe, I don't know. Nick going out to say it was never in doubt. It's like, bro, come on. They were down by 11 in the 4th quarter. It was never in doubt. I appreciate Nick's passion. I appreciate Nick's love for the Chiefs, but just be honest about it. It was in doubt until the very end. And it never should have been based on the numbers. 23 more first downs, 41 more plays, almost 250 more yards, and a 17-minute time of possession, give or take a few seconds. That's blowout. And somehow this version of Kansas City somehow sent that game to overtime. That should never happen.
It was.
Trey, just one question. Say if the Chiefs catch fire, we expect, maybe not Clint, but we expect them to catch fire. Which team in the AFC would you think will pose the biggest threat against the Chiefs in the playoffs? Do you believe that New England can? No?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Look, New England is really good. You look at their schedule. Look, they beat the Bucs, and they played their toughest road game and beat the Bills. The teams that have the most pressure going into this postseason, quite frankly, are Buffalo and Baltimore. This is a year that the Chiefs might not make it to the AFC Championship game. And if they don't win it this year and the Bills find a way to lose the division, that's dicey, man. I will say Denver is probably the team that I would fear the most, simply because Sean Payton's an excellent coach and they dominate the line of scrimmage. And that matters to me. You have to win the line of scrimmage. All this other stuff is ancillary if you can't win the line of scrimmage. Denver's on a bye week, so the numbers are going to be a little skewed. But, they went into this week giving up the 2nd fewest sacks in football and having the most sacks in football. That is dominating the line of scrimmage. And for me, the essence of football is very simple. One wall of men dominates another wall of men, which allows everything else to happen. I mean, that's football to me in a nutshell. Denver does that better than anybody. So with all due respect to Drake May and the Patriots and Buffalo and Baltimore, the team that I would be most concerned about if the Chiefs had to meet them in the postseason would absolutely be the Denver Broncos.
Absolutely. Trey, can't argue it. Before we kick you loose, we got to hit you with our fantastic four quick questions. We'll have some fun with it. We get into the weeds on a lot of things in sports and we take it pretty seriously around here, but I got to know, because I'm a concert guy, what's the last concert you went to, or your favorite one ever, either one?
Wow. That's been a while. I think we saw the last U2 concert in the United States a few years ago. I actually saw Kendrick Lamar in Sydney, Australia, 3 years ago.
Wow.
That was kind of fun. That was a good concert. My favorite concert ever? Wow, that's a tough one. Probably one of the many Billy Joel concerts I went to. That's a really good question. I'll have to think on that. But I have not been. But some buddies of mine went to see the Grateful Dead at the Sphere this past year, and they said that was a trip. I would like to do that. I would like to do that. I haven't done that yet, but it's been a few years since I went to a concert. But those the ones that I mentioned would
Love
be
it.
there for sure.
Ray, I know you're a classic film connoisseur. So what are two classic films you can give us that kind of recommendations for people that haven't dipped their toes into the classic film world?
Well, one of my all-time favorite movies, and he just passed away recently, was Robert Redford and Paul Newman and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. That is as bad as a perfect film as exists for me, and it has a real sentiment for me. It was the first movie I saw with my parents when I was a kid. But if you like classic old westerns and two really just iconic movie stars, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid is about as good as it gets. I always have a hard time dividing up movies, because to me it's all about genre, right? Like my favorite dramas are not comparable to my favorite comedies or my favorite suspense films, and film noir, like Memento with Guy Pearce is a ridiculously good film. Like, it's just insane. The premise of that movie is out of this world. And so if you haven't seen Memento, and I don't want to give anything away, but the guy is tatted up for a reason. Let's just put it at that. And you have to figure that out as you go forward. So I would just throw those two out there. Obviously, movies like The Godfather are just, off the charts good. And I have some other ones that I really like. And then there's silly, like, pop culture ones, like all the Raiders movies, Raiders of the Lost Ark, are just great. And then you talk about classic comedies. Tommy Boy is the most underrated comedy, in my opinion, of all time.
I love that.
And I was just watching the John Candy documentary not too long ago on Prime. It was amazing, and it made me want to watch like Splash and Uncle Buck and those movies as well. So, but I would say Memento and Butch Cassidy, in terms of classic films, go watch those films. Your mind will be blown.
Go ahead, Melena.
You could spend the day with any athlete, professional athlete, past or present. Who would it be?
I'm a big golf guy, right? And I love playing golf. I would love to play 18 with Tiger and just pick his brain. I have a great Tiger story, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
It was 2003 NBA All-Star Game in Atlanta. We're down there. I was covering it for ESPN, and the late, great Stuart Scott texts me and says, "Hey, meet me in the lobby at the restaurant. There's someone you need to meet." I'm like, "Oh, okay." It was at the Ritz-Carlton downtown. And so I walk in there, and in the back booth is Stuart and Tiger. They're sitting there. I was like, "Oh my God." So I sit down and have a little meal with Tiger, and I sit down and Tiger goes, "Oh, hey, Trey." I'm like, "Oh, hey, Tiger, what's up?" Trying to be very, very nonchalant. So after about 20 minutes, we leave, and I'm so excited that I walk out of the restaurant, and I go to the elevator to press the button to go back to my hotel room, and I'm calling my dad to tell him I just had lunch with Tiger Woods. And like an idiot, the door of the elevator opens, and instead of being a courteous human being and waiting for people to come off the elevator, I barge into the elevator because I'm just out of my mind. And I run smack dab into the chest of this 6'6" behemoth. And he looks at me and says, "Wingo, watch where you're going." I'm like, "Michael, sorry, that's on me. That's my bad. That's on me. That's on me." So I had lunch with Tiger and ran into Michael Jordan's chest in a matter of like 15 minutes. That was a really, really good day. That was a really good day.
That's great.
Michael?
Hey, so Trey, question here. As a fellow journalist, like yourself, you're one of the legends of the game, continuing to be great. What would be your words of advice for those young journalists look to take the next step in their careers?
That's a great question, because it has changed. I mean, John Anderson said this when he retired from SportsCenter. He said the mechanism has changed, right? It's very different than what it used to be. And it is about what can we do to engage people as opposed to what can we do to inform people. And I was always of the opinion that the most important thing we can do is inform people, give reasonable opinions based on information, not on hot takes, not on if I say this, it'll get a lot of clicks. There are people that I used to work with and now working at Fox or other places that will say things that I know they don't believe. I know they don't believe it, and there's no reason for it, but they say it because they know it will generate headlines and it will generate clicks and it will generate interest. My message to anybody would be, find out what really matters. Find out the stuff that isn't going to say, "Can you believe he said this?" as opposed to, "Wow, he said this," and it puts it in a proper context for me, which is why I brought up the Eagles thing in the discussion. The easy headline is, "Wow, the Eagles have the best red zone offense in football. They convert 78% of the time." But they're never there. They're never there. That's why the Eagles offense is struggling, right? On the Straight Facts Homie podcast, we told people in August, look, do not expect Saquon Barkley to have the same season he had a year ago. because I went through the data and I looked at every of the previous 8 2,000-yard rushers. Every single one of them went like this the year after. It takes a lot out of you. Right now, Saquon Barkley is averaging 2 yards less per carry this year than he did a year ago. And not only did he, have a great season, but he's the first 2,000-yard rusher to ever make it to a Super Bowl. So he played 3 extra seasons. To put that in perspective, not only is he averaging 2 yards less a carry, last year he averaged a 20-yard run about once every 20 rushes. This year, he has 2 20-yard rushes. That's one every 92 and a half carries. So when we talk about these things in statistical data, they matter. I told people before this season, if you draft Saquon Barkley first in your draft, do not expect the same results. Statistically, it says it's not going to happen. So that would be my message. Not just say things to say things. Say things based on information and data that will actually inform people, will make them be smarter about the things they consume. Because that's what I always try to do.
Trey, there's no one like you. You are the best, my friend. Thank you so much. We kept you too long. I promise we'll never do that again unless we get into really deep dives on some classical films that I love, such as Home Alone and The Wizard and, 80s movies like Teen Wolf. We'll do that for another time, but you're the best, Trey. Thank you so much for hopping on. Straight Facts, homie. Go check it out. The best in the business. Trey Wingo, thank you so much, my friend.
You got it, guys. Take care. 6-game winning streak coming. Let's go.
Let's go. Always an honor, Trey. Thanks a lot.
That's the great Trey Wingo, guys. And you are just jumping in here. You see the money badger below you. You see Michael Matthew is in here today. Melena Scantlin-Barrett, after having to pull an interception herself, food delivery for her son, is here. And she got, unlike Nick Bolton out there for the Chiefs yesterday, and Shamari Connor, who were not able to come up with an interception, Melena did.
No fumbles either, so it's good. The food is on the table.
And it's a Thanksgiving edition. We're thankful to have Michael, the Money Badger, Matthew back. How are you, Michael? Look at you. It's great to see your face.
No, man, great to see you guys. I've been stressing a little bit watching these Chiefs, here behind enemy lines here in Los Angeles. But yesterday, they gave me some hope. And just looking at the playoff picture, I'm like, maybe some things can work in their favor, but I'm excited to be back with you guys.
We're going to get into it. Melena, you are steering this ship. You get us to where we need to go, and you are going to be the key to the success of this and maybe this entire turnaround of the playoff run. So
I am feeling it. Michael, it is so nice to meet you. I can't wait to dive in with you. But first, I want to get to you, Noah. I have a couple questions for you. Kareem Hunt went for 100 yards on 30 carries with a touchdown. And yes, he had the fumble. But how surprised were you to see Andy Reid stick with the running game the way he did?
What's shocking, I just think it kind of made me think back to a game where we did go to the run heavy, and I wasn't expecting it in 2020 with Clyde Edwards-Helaire against the Bills, where he ran 26 times for 161 yards. We won that game 26-17. Mahomes only threw the ball 26 times. I know he had a lot more plays, so he threw the ball a lot and ran the ball a lot this time. But that's what it kind of reminded me of. And whatever you got to do to win, people have been asking him in press conferences, the media, about, hey, you need to run under center more instead of in shotgun. You're having more success. You need to run the ball more, make things easier on the offense. Everyone's playing back. The receivers can't get open because it's just pass, pass, pass. So I'm loving that Andy's doing this. I didn't think he could do it. I didn't think he would do it. He did it, and we came away with a win. Although it was ugly, it's a win. So hopefully we can keep running some more.
You're not kidding.
That's Kareem.
Michael, I'm going to ask you a couple questions. So the Chiefs defense absolutely shined in this game, forcing 4 straight 3-and-outs to end it and holding the Colts to just 225 total yards. How exciting was it for you to see this defense step up like that?
No, it was needed. If not, the game could have gotten ugly early. But I was just very excited to see that Spags said, you know what? This might be for our season. I'm going to send people after the running game and Daniel Jones. And he did exactly that. And I believe that Spags needs to have a little more trust in that secondary. I think that they can make some plays back there with the pass rush not being as great as we're used to. I think that Spags should be willing to kind of unleash a little more and trust the guys on the back end. But these past couple games, we've seen the best of Chris Jones, I feel, so far this season. Amenahue is starting to show a little more juice. Karlaftis is showing some things. And we already know this linebacker group is one of the best in the NFL when they can go downhill. So it was very impressive because that was the biggest scare, was that I do not want to see Jonathan Taylor run 200 yards against the Chiefs. So hopefully they do something. And can they make Daniel Jones look more like the Daniel Jones that we've known for his entire career? And they did exactly that. It's just the offense had to figure it out, and they did. And if they can carry over some of this play on the defensive side, man, the Chiefs are going to be a tough team to beat.
Noah, Clint, do you have any comments with what Michael said?
I agree with Michael.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this defense has to get after it. We saw him getting downhill. We still need a better pass rush. I don't think you can blitz every single quarterback as much as they did against Daniel Jones in this run game. There's going to be more prolific, like I think against the Cowboys. If you're blitzing them and you're leaving guys on an island against George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, and Jake Ferguson, their tight end, I think you're going to be in a tough situation. So we're going to have to figure out a way to get home with just 4. Maybe you can bring 1 extra, but you can't bring as many people as Spags was doing against the Colts if you're going up against the Cowboys on Thanksgiving.
And speaking of tough situations, we've been pretty hard on Harrison Butker. Clint, don't you think so?
Yep.
He went 5 for 5 yesterday, including the game winner in overtime. Does this feel like to you that he may have finally found his groove?
I do, especially when you look back at the fact that Harrison has not missed a field goal now since the Ravens game, all the way back in late September. Now, I think, missed an extra point. I believe he had 1 blocked last week against the Broncos, which was actually really key in how that game unfolded. But I blame that more on Dave Toub's inept special teams unit, which is amongst the worst in the NFL all around when it comes to punt returns, when it comes to just general, alignments on these plays. It is not working. Dave Toub's a disaster, and that's another topic maybe for another day. But yes, big props to Harrison, who even talked after the game about the fact that, hey, the blood was pumping, my heart was beating, I was like in the moment of this pressure situation, and he delivered. You saw the stoic look on Patrick Mahomes' face, like never a doubt. Mahomes, with the stone cold look, walked out on the field, knew they had that one won. And big props to the butt kicker, who's back to kicking butts again, and I love it.
Thank God. I always get so nervous when those guys, there's just so much pressure, especially in this season for the Chiefs. I just thought, oh my gosh, please, God, don't let it be, He's such a good guy. You're laughing, Michael.
No, yeah, it's scary, Sometimes when I remember, like, yo, this guy can surprise you with a missed kick. So even from 28 yards, I'm like, please don't do anything crazy. And the fact that he's kind of found his groove, it at least lets the Chiefs know that they can walk away with some type of points if they can get into a position to where earlier in the year, it was like you were unsure if they're going to get anything.
And you're right. It's unfortunate that it had to be 5 field goal attempts and makes, because it was trips to the red zone all day long, struggled to get in. Red zone offense really struggled. Penalties, Jawan Taylor, Trey Wingo mentioned it. So the frustration of not being able to get in the end zone was somewhat mitigated by the fact that Harrison Butker was money and kept those points coming when we really needed them. And even though it was frustrating at the time, turned out to be the key to finally getting a touchdown late and then able to tie the game at the end of regulation.
Now, you heard Trey Wingo talk about the Eagles. They have this great red zone percentage, but they're never there. The Chiefs are always there, but they can't get in the end zone. So they've got an opposite problem. So I don't know which one's worse. I guess the Eagles? I don't know.
Noah, I'm going to stick with you here. Even with the win, the Chiefs actually dropped a spot in the playoff standings. They're sitting at a 55% chance to make it this postseason. What is it going to take to get in?
Probably going to take winning out. It's a convoluted mess. On the left side of this, you've got like kind of playoff ramification matchups for the AFC here. And then on the right is the standings. Like you said, we're 10th, 55% chance. And I don't know. I think maybe you want the Colts to fall and the Jags to win the division. The Ravens just overtook the Steelers. You want the Steelers to take that division back because you have the tiebreakers over the Colts and the Ravens. And it's just a mess if you start going deep into this. We could do a whole hour-long show on it. I think Clinton and I have done hour-long phone calls breaking down the scenarios.
We're not nerds at all.
So we don't have that kind of time here, but it is a convoluted mess, and the Chiefs just got to take care of their own business, keep their eyes just on the next game. That's the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. They got to win that. They probably have to win out and just hope they can get some help somewhere. But Clinton and I have been talking about this all season, and they never get the help. We're like, man, we need this team to win. We need these 3 teams to win this week. And they always lose. So the good teams just keep winning. The teams in our way, the teams that have the tiebreakers, just keep winning. So I don't know if the Chiefs can do it, but they just got to win out and hope for the best.
I'm sure I'm in good company when I say I'd love to be on one of those hour-long phone calls between you and Clint, Noah.
Are you sure? Don't tempt it. Don't threaten us with a good time, Lena.
The genius and then the arguing. I don't know.
That's it. 3-way call coming. Just get ready for it. If you really want to just have, you'd be questioning your life decisions if you ever heard Noah and I have these conversations. I'll tell you that.
Misery loves company, right?
Hey,
there we go.
All right, Michael, I have a question for you. Mahomes threw for 346 yards in this one, but he did have that costly interception on the misread RPO. How would you assess his performance and the passing game overall?
The passing game really improved late in the fourth quarter. They started to make the plays down the field. Tony Romo, who hasn't been great all year long, really has. He said it on the watching the game, like, hey, they have to make passes outside of the numbers. It seems like so much for the Chiefs are inside of the numbers. If they can get some things done outside the numbers, it's going to open it up. And you saw that happen for them. And I got to tell everybody, like, being here in LA, behind enemy's lines, everybody has a lot of smack to talk because the Chiefs are 6-5 and don't look as great as they usually are. And I'm just like, hey, it's going to come down to Patrick Mahomes. He is the guy. If he wants to be in that tier of a GOAT, he has to continue to play well and show us. With the way that Josh Allen can show you and have some performances in football, of course, Lamar, the way that Drake May is playing. If you want people to stop talking about them, it's going to be on Patrick Mahomes to shine bright and figure things out with these weapons. And you saw that in the fourth quarter. That was the biggest takeaway for me for the entire game. I'm like, is this what we're going to see going forward? If him, Rashid, Xavier, and Travis can get it going with the way that this defense is playing, and I believe, fingers crossed, that Andy Reid is going to trust the running game to give the ball to the backs when needed. I think that this can be more of the Chiefs team that we expected, but it's going to be on 15, making these plays, not being hesitant, not getting out of the pocket too fast, trusting his guys and letting it rip. And I think that this Chiefs team can really make a run here late in the season.
Yeah, and Trey Wingo talked about it just a few minutes ago about how everything feels sped up and feels a little chaotic, and that's what we've been saying now for 2 years. And I was really starting to question starting to question Rashee Rice. And this is a guy that wound up with 8 catches and 141 yards, bailed this team out late. Michael, you talked about the late resurgence of the passing game. Yes, without that, this is a loss, and you're 5-6, and the season is over. So props to Rashee Rice, who really bailed Mahomes out on one of the plays where the ball was kind of thrown behind him, and he had to make a really good catch to keep the drive going. And so even Xavier Worthy, who's going to be, by the way, guys, injured or hurt, I should say, every game that he plays for the rest of his career. He's going to be on every injury report. He's going to be throwing his helmet. He's going to be limping for literally the rest of his career. And so you're just going to have to take what you can get out of it. I'm surprised it's been as good as it's been. He played all last year without injury. He started the year out for 3 or 4 weeks, and now it's just kind of been game to game. But Travis Kelce had some moments where it's like he's not on the same page. He kind of, broke off of his route, and Mahomes threw a seam route where Kelce was just trying to sit down and get a first down, and Mahomes launches it downfield, and you're just like, man, it's weird. You would think these guys were like best friends that have won 3 Super Bowls together or something.
You would think.
Man.
Yeah, I want to see more like from Rashid, the more intermediate game, like Michael was talking about. Xavier, he can run the whole route tree. So I want to see more of that and not just go deep. I think Tyquan Thornton needs to be the third wide receiver. Send him deep. He feels like he can locate the ball better than Xavier Worthy down the field. Feels like he has a better feel for that in the deep game. And then obviously Juju has his role as a blocker, just kind of get in there and rile up the defense and kind of get their heads out of the game. And obviously he can work that intermediate route too. And I think Hollywood probably needs to take a step back. He hasn't been as impressive to me. It doesn't look like him and Mahomes are on the same page. I know earlier in the season, they were trying to get into field goal range late. He comes over the middle. His head wasn't turned around. Otherwise, he could have taken it up the left sideline. They could have gotten to field goal range. So I kind of want to see Tyquan Thornton take a bigger role, Hollywood Brown take a step back.
All right, Clint, I have one last question for you. There's a quick turnaround now with the Cowboys coming up on Thanksgiving. Does the narrative for the season change if the Chiefs win that game and get themselves to 7-5?
I think it does. I think that Noah and I have talked a lot this week about get to 7-5 by Thanksgiving. That's going to be a real key. And I think if you do that, you'll see the Chiefs will be able to sit back and watch some other results play out through the rest of the weekend. It's still going to look a little dicey after that. You're still going to be seeing 55, 57, 58% chances of getting in. The Cowboys are a team that I think is really kind of turning things around right now. We'll get to more of this in our predictions, but I think this is going to be a really tough game on Thanksgiving, and it does really set the scene because from here on out, like Trey Wingo said, every game is a playoff game. Every game's a must-win, so the next one up is a huge game and a must-win and the biggest game we played so far in the season. So buckle up.
Maybe, hey, Clint, maybe they need that. Like Trey was saying, like, man, they're probably just a little bored. Like, we're used to playing Super Bowls. Like, these games in September, October don't really mean much. Now it's like you don't want to lose. Hey, let's be super, like, hyper-focused and make sure we get all right. So maybe this was a good thing to happen for the Chiefs.
Michael, where do you live in LA? I was there for 20 years.
Oh, yeah, like Inglewood, South LA area.
Oh, okay, nice. Close to the airport.
Mm-hmm.
You got to come to Kansas City.
No, yeah, I was there last year for the Chiefs-Chargers game Sunday night. It was my first time in Arrowhead, so I felt at home. That was being out here, you don't see too many Chiefs jerseys, but being there, I felt at home. I was taking pictures with random people. It was a great time, so I got to get back there.
Milena, did you live? How far was it from that? Where were you at?
It depends on traffic, and Michael would agree. So you could live. I was probably 10 miles away from Michael in West Hollywood, but it was 2 hours on a random. If you take La Cienega from West Hollywood to Inglewood, you could get there, with no traffic, but it'd have to be 6 o'clock in the morning before everybody wakes up and gets to work. So.
Melina, every great night of my life has been spent on the Sunset Strip. So you live by there. That was my.
I lived right above the Sunset Strip.
That was it. It was the Roxy, the Rainbow.
That's all right there. Good
those were the Whiskey A Go-Go. Those are my spots in LA.
Yeah,
that's right. But Michael's close to the ocean.
Yeah,
that's right.
I love it.
It's nice. It's so cool. It's nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
It's great.
Sorry, Clint, go ahead.
No. What you got? We're about to have a prediction.
You guys, if you haven't lived in LA, and Michael may or may not agree, they care about the Lakers because I think the Lakers had a dynasty. And they're very exciting. There's a lot of celebrities. They just don't care about football there. And maybe that's changed recently with the Rams and the Chargers. But Michael, would you agree that it's like football, they can kind of leave it or take it?
Yeah, it's like because we were without football for so long, everybody have found teams, and you got a bunch of Steeler fans, Raiders, of course, 49ers, Cowboys, Packers. The Chiefs kingdom is growing, out here, Denver Bronco fans. So the Rams and Chargers pretty much, when I go to their practices, they actually work on silent counts because when they play certain games, they expect it to be more visiting fans and home fans, and they have to adjust.
Okay. I'm going to have to get out there. We should take a field trip, Clint and Noah.
Let's go.
I should go visit Michael and go out to LA and visit both the stadiums, Yes. And you'll have to go to a Lakers game at some point. It's fun.
Yeah.
Dude, that would be an epic, like we could do like a vlog on that. And Milena takes Clint and Noah around LA. We get with Michael. That just sounds.
Rainbow room.
Oh
Let's-
yeah, that's the best. That is the
Let's do it.
best food on the strip too, by the way.
So good.
We got to go to predictions, and I'm still not sure. So, Michael, we got it's Thanksgiving, so hopefully, I don't know how Thanksgiving is, if it's how different it is in LA, but I hope that you are celebrating the way it should be. And how are you going to be celebrating though when it comes to the Chiefs?
Hopefully I'm celebrating. They might ruin my entire Thanksgiving to where I may not want to eat the rest of the day. So I need them to show up and play some good football. It's gonna be great out here. It's gonna be like 70 degrees, 73 degrees. So it's gonna be a good time. But I just need the Chiefs to win because this Sunday they have my heart beating a different way to where I'm like, no. And like I said, being behind enemy lines and with all these other fans, people have been waiting to talk reckless to me about the Chiefs, and they're finding ways. But I think that the Chiefs found something. I think the defense has been solid all season long, but I think that passing game and running the football, I believe that Andy Reid is realizing, hey, I need to run the football. What do they average? 4.5 yards against the Broncos, and then you're able
over
to,
5.
you're able to pound the ball against the Colts, which was one of the hottest teams in the NFL. I think they realize they're going to need that to work so the RPOs and the play action can open up more for the passing game. And I believe that the Chiefs find a way. The Cowboys shouldn't have won that game versus the Eagles. Like, everything went wrong for the Eagles out of nowhere. And Dak Prescott is an accident waiting to happen. And I just think that the Chiefs find a way to win. I'm going to say 24-17. The Chiefs come out on top, and we all get to enjoy our Thanksgiving turkeys after the game.
Noah, what about you? What's your prediction?
Well, I know I talked about kind of the Chiefs' defense. They can't blitz the way they did against the Colts because of all the weapons that are outside there for Dak Prescott. But as far as the Chiefs, I don't think they can go into the Cowboys game with the same game plan either. They can't run the ball as much as they did. You've got Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clark in the middle at defensive tackle. That's a lot of beef there in the middle, and those are two very talented players. And you're also probably going to be without Trey Smith. They announced his ankles. It's going to take some time for him to get better. So now you got Mike Caliendo at right guard. They weren't running as effective in that Colts game when Mike Caliendo came in for Trey Smith. So you might have to get something run to the outside, some more screen game, quick passing game.
You just want to keep the defense honest, and they may not get 100 yards, but if you can get 70 yards, I think that's enough for Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, absolutely. Keep them honest with the run game. Use the short passing game as an extension of your run game. Mm-hmm. And hopefully, like Michael said, we found a little something there in the fourth quarter and overtime with Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy and how to use them better in this offense. And I think the Chiefs are going to come away with a win, 27-23, 4 points at the end. Dak Prescott's driving, but they need a touchdown, not a field goal, and they come up short.
No, or Clint?
Well, guys, I hate to do it. Chiefs Kingdom's watching. We're all trying to enjoy, what this holiday is going to be, and it's a time of togetherness. And when I think of Thanksgiving, for me, guys, it's not just about my mom's dry turkey and our mashed potatoes that come out of a box with gravy that's so thin that it really could be confused for flavored water. No, I think about the Dallas Cowboys. I think about Nate Newton. I think about Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith. I think about John Madden and the Turducken. And I think about the Dallas Cowboys, who are going, guys, to end this season for the Kansas City Chiefs. On Thursday, it's going to be a very long, dark, cold, and unflattering Thanksgiving in Kansas City because the Dallas Cowboys, who are taking the next step towards their playoffs appearance, is going to happen. The Chiefs are going to go down, and only Dolly Parton, dressed like a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader at the age of 80, could remotely save us all. Dallas Cowboys. This Thursday's about them boys.
Hey, thank you, Clint. I think Clint kind of helped the Chiefs in their favor because the guys are going to see this and say, "Oh, we're going to make them eat crow, like you did before, Noah." So we're going to. I can't wait, man.
Worse than dry turkey, Clint.
It'll just
It's
be
like we got Jerry Jones up there, this new Cowboys fan, and Clint over here. He's talking about Troy Aikman and Nate Newton. I'm sure that's what Jerry Jones says every Sunday when he watches the Cowboys. Just, man, I'm thinking about Nate Newton. My name is Smith J. Novacek, Moose Johnson,
Michael Irvin.
Where did I get this jersey from, Noah Groniger? Where did I get it from, baby?
And how did you get that? Why did you get that? That's the question.
Noah,
of the show.
jersey at my house, guys. This is Noah Groniger's jersey.
They were the Dallas
my
Texans.
brothers.
Oh, your brother's in 94?
Literally, yes. This is from the 94 season. This is the throwback they had, which was great. But
wow.
Yeah, they win. Chiefs lose. Didn't see enough in this Colts game. The playoff picture is really muddy, and I think it's time to say night-night, Kansas City.
I think they're going to be driven by that 55% chance in the postseason. I think Mahomes wants to be the greatest of all time, not just great that one era, that one time. And he also loves Texas. I think I heard he wants to play for the Cowboys one day, right?
Ooh, I hope not.
He's going to end up with the Cowboys. Did I read that somewhere? I don't know. I think he's going to be driven to beat these guys. There's a lot at stake. So I think the Chiefs are going to win 21-20.
Hey, John, we love you, John Harrison. Thank you for the thumbs down for Clint.
Hey, I just wanted to entertain the masses. Somebody surely got something out of that. But if you can't pick games right, you just wildly entertain them, and they forget all about your stupid predictions. I picked the Colts last week, guys. Don't take my word for it. I'm just an idiot.
We're going to be like the movie buffs who give 2 thumbs down to Clint.
You're the good luck. You're the good luck charm. Keep picking against the Chiefs, Clint, and they're going to run the table, and we're going to thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys. Thanks for everyone for joining us here on Arrowhead Allies. Thanks to the Money Badger, Michael Matthew, joining us all the way in LA. Have a great holiday season, guys. Enjoy it. And this has been funny and all, but seriously, guys, we got to get one of those. What would Andy Reid say to one of those? Go Chiefs!
I think Clint would say, "How about them Cowboys?" But we're going to say, "How about those Chiefs?"